Hello, welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony. This show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. Today, I've got an interesting topic for you today. The topic today is, if you've got a job, I want you to use this schedule, or consider it at least, for your voiceover business. I get asked a lot about, Anthony, I've got a full-time job, I've got kids, I've got responsibilities, I'm exhausted. How do I find time to do my voiceover business? So today's video is going to be based around that. Really quick, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And also, even if you're subscribed, make sure you hit the bell notification and hit on all notifications for the channel so that when I do put up a video, you actually will be notified. Because if you don't, even just subscribing, you don't actually get notified by YouTube. Anyways, so let's dive into this. You got a job and you're trying to figure out, how do I manage that job? How do I manage my family? How do I manage my responsibilities and still get voiceover work or still be able to do work? So we're going to talk about that. First off, I started with a full-time job. That's what I did. I was working full-time as a teacher, and I was a theater teacher, so I'd go to work, and I was high school, so I go to work at 6, and I wouldn't get home till around 5 or 6 o'clock at night because we always stayed after as theater people, because we're always doing plays, we're always doing building sets, we're always doing rehearsals, we're always doing something after school. So I never got to leave right after school, which ended about 3. So I always stayed till about 5 or 6. And then from there, I would go pick up my kids. My wife and I, she worked a little bit later than me, so I would pick up the kids. Then we come home, we'd make dinner. Then after dinner, we would, hang out, play with the kids, watch some TV, put the kids to bed. Then I would watch some TV, hang out with my wife for a little bit, put her to bed. Then after that, I would go out, get my PVC pipes and packing blankets. I had this huge duffel bag in my shed out back. Would go out, bring that in at about 10:30 at night, put it up. I called it my hobo fort, and it went around my table with my computer on it, and then I would work from about 10:30, 11 to 2 or 3 in the morning. And then I would take down my hobo fort. This was early on. And then I would put it back in the duffel bag, put it out, and then go to bed, and then get back up at 5:30 or so, 6, and do it all over again. That's what I did for about 2 years. And it was tough. And I learned some things. So first off, the first thing that you have to do is you have to find or create a block of time in your schedule. Please don't forget, and there's going to be some things because I'm going to say here that will involve you making some changes. And one of those things is you're going to have to create some time in your schedule, even if it's late. Maybe it's super early. I've worked with many students who get up earlier. John Grisham, the famous writer, he was a lawyer right before he, became a famous author. And he would, he famously said he would get up at 4 or 5 in the morning before he went to work so he could write for a couple hours before he went to work. We've got to find time when it is available to us. And this is not going to be super easy. And I want to say that, and I'm not saying it out of being mean, but this is not going to be super easy, and I want to preface that. This is going to be a challenge. It's not going to be easy because you're already working a full-time job, if you are, or a part-time job, and you've got responsibilities, or you've got you got a family, and you're looking after all this stuff. This is going to be a challenge, but if you know that going into it and you accept it, it's okay. It can still be fun and exciting because you're going to do a lot of really great and cool things with this business. And it will end up changing your life. But just know that you're going to have to create some time for yourself, whether it's before or after your work and your responsibilities. And it's going to be a challenge to keep that going for the first little while until you get the business rolling. Now, depending on what kind of job you have will depend on whether you have weekends off, what time of the day, how many days a week you work, etc., etc. So you have to look at what you do and when you have time. And this is where now we schedule, and this is important. So now that you have figured out what your block of time is that you have, could be a couple hours a week, Could be 10 or 15 hours a week, could be a couple hours a day. You have to figure that out. But once you figure that out, now we need to schedule effectively. And I'm so happy I did this, and trust me, at the time it wasn't on purpose. Well, it was, but it wasn't on purpose from an, like an education. I was teaching myself, it was, I just did it. You have to understand that when you're first starting out, you and especially if you have a job and all these responsibilities, you have to hyper focus your attention on one or two things that really are going to help you move forward. If you've been in this business for a little while, there's so many distractions we can get ourselves into. But hyper focus is key, especially early on specific things that you must do to get work. And don't forget too, you're just starting out. So, you're not going to have the best deliveries yet. You're not going to have the best audio yet. You're not going to be getting hired for as much as you're going to get hired for later on. You're just not. So it's even more important that you hyper-focus on one or two things. I personally chose to focus my efforts on a website called ACX, and I did audiobooks. I did royalty share and low-paying books. I did that for many years. And I thought to myself, if I could just be the guy who always had a job, eventually I'll build up a portfolio, because I thought early on, I don't have a portfolio. How am I supposed to get work when I don't even have any work to show people? So somehow I've got to get work. And don't forget, and I know this might be controversial to some, but don't forget, we're a business. And when businesses start out, you typically need to give away your services, offer them at a discount. Why? Not because you're not worth it, but because people don't know you. People have no idea what you can and can't do. You got to give people an incentive to try you out, to try, you know what I mean? To build trust. And you build trust through a portfolio of work, through proven work. But in order to get that, you've got to, give some incentives to do it. And this is not devaluing yourself. This is giving people an opportunity to know what you can do. All right, because we're not always going to do that, but early on, I think it's important to look at it that way, because we got to get people knowing that you can do stuff, that you're good, that people do want to work with you. Okay, so you got to create that schedule early on. I started with ACX, and that gave me a hyper focus. That's all I did was ACX, and then I put up some gigs on Fiverr early on. They didn't do anything except one gig that I did, which was Scary Voices at Halloween, and I did that, and I got work for that because I did Scary Voices pretty well, but that was about it. It wasn't much. All the work I did, I wanted to be the guy who always had an audiobook. So every night I would schedule at least 1 to 2 hours of just auditioning. Even if I had work, I would always audition. This is paramount to your schedule now. So when we move into the scheduling part, at least schedule 1 to 2 hours of auditioning. And then when you have work, if you have work, then spend the other 1 to 2 hours or however much time you have doing your work. You've got to, depending on your block of time, you have to, make that even or whatever you need. But this is the key. You have to keep auditioning. And I'm just talking about ACX right now, picking one platform, picking a platform that you have that's going to bring you the fastest way to get a job. Because there's other platforms that you can go on, like Fiverr, not Upwork, because Upwork you need to put proposals out. But Voquent, there's some places that you go that you just put up your profile and people will come to you. But you'll notice more and more places are going more towards, auditions, proposals, things like that. So you need to go to those places, pick one. That's why I said I picked ACX and I did nothing but audition. And I wanted to be the guy who always had a job no matter what. Always had a job in the queue, because I thought that later on when I was in demand, people would be more wanting to work with me because I was in demand. So I had to create that demand. And it worked. It worked. And then I've duplicated it over and over and over and over again with all of the hundreds or the thousands of students I've helped and I've taught. It works. A lot of people don't want to do it, though, because they get frustrated. They don't want to work for little or nothing. They don't want to do that stuff. And I'm not telling you that's your path. I'm just telling you that's the path that I chose, and it worked. And I've shown a lot of other people that it's worked for them too. And it works on a schedule, and that's the whole point of the video, right? It works on a schedule. The schedule is, right, you have to pick 1-2 things max. You can't be doing 20 things. You can't be trying to put up a website, trying to build a social media brand, trying to do all these things. Remember in my video yesterday when I talked about branding online, I was very specific to say that this was not for people who are just starting out. People who have a very regimented schedule that they have to follow. This is for people who've already built a somewhat successful business and have time, because that's down the road. Right now, you need to focus all your efforts on 1-2 things max. The other part of this I always say is I always left room for education. It could be because I love education. You know what I mean? I feel very strongly about it. I always have. I've always felt that the more educated I am, the more knowledge I have, the more successful I will be. So it's always a thing that I feel that separates me from other people, is I'm always trying to educate myself. So make sure you leave time for education. It's very important. Whether you're in a group, whether you're in a Facebook group, whether you're in an academy, wherever you are, make sure you're being educated at the same time. And yes, you're going to be busy. Now, you might ask, and this is the final part of this, and again, I wanted to preface this with saying that my path may not be the one that you want to take, but this is just my path. Something has to give, right? Something has to give. And, you know, like you would logically say, okay, well, I'm working, I'm doing all this stuff. Now I've created more time within my schedule. Well, what did I take away? Because we only have 24 hours a day. That doesn't change. So that means that something has to give. And typically in this situation, and it stinks, I'm not saying it doesn't, but for a period of time, if you think about it, what ends up having to give, time with your family, time with someone that you know, depending on where you are, I don't know, you know, what, if you have a large family, if you have kids, you have a spouse, you're by yourself, you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, you have, you know, some dogs, some animals, whatever you have, friends, you know, you're going to have to, unfortunately, not spend as much time with them. And that's very hard. I agree. It's extremely hard. But I want to point out something to you, because this is what I want you to know. It won't be forever. And yes, it is a little selfish of you. But the thing is you're building something that will pay off down the road. It will pay off. And it will change the lives of all those people too, for the better. And more importantly, it'll make you more happy. That's the thing. I'll never forget, I was cranky a lot before I had built this business, because I was always frustrated with myself, right? And what I had done and what I had not done. And this big gaping hole inside me that I felt was missing. Something wasn't right. And it should be right, because I have a beautiful wife and beautiful kids and, you know, all that stuff. It should be good, but there was still something missing. And it had nothing to do with them, right? It had to do with me, because I was not proud of myself. I had not built anything worth anything yet. I had done stuff, right? And I had built programs, but those programs weren't mine. They were someone, you know, they were the schools. It was other stuff. I hadn't done the stuff myself. I hadn't built anything on my own, right? I hadn't built something, nurtured it, put my blood, sweat, and tears into it, watch it grow and be successful. I hadn't done that yet. And it was a big deal for me to do that. Now, again, that's just my path, but you're going to have to, something is going to have to give some for a little bit of time. It's not forever. It's not forever. It won't be forever, but it'll be a little bit of time. You know, it could be a couple of years. And it's not like you're going to lock yourself in a room and no one will ever see you. That's not what I'm talking about. But you're going to have to give some time to this and take it from somewhere else. And I'm being open about it. I'm not trying to fluff it. You know, people say, "Oh yeah, you're going to be fine. You don't have everything. You'll just everything will magically be perfectly work right, and time will just stop for you." And that's not true. It'll be hard. People will be mad at you for not spending more time with them. I'm being totally transparent here. This is something that happened. If you're doing this now, you understand what I'm saying. You already know. But it will pay off in the end, and it will change. You know, it's funny. Now my life is so much different than what it was, because now I still work, right? But at nights, I don't have to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't have to do work at night anymore. I did for a couple of years, but now I don't anymore. I don't work on the weekends. I literally don't work on the weekends. Maybe I should, but I don't. And I don't because I used to do it all the time in order to build this business. And now it's done. I specifically don't do it anymore because of it. Because it gives me that option. And I love it. So anyways, you know, I know it's got kind of deep there, but the point here is that you've got to schedule your time and understand that right now it's going to be tight. Like, you're not going to have a lot of wiggle room, and that's okay. All right, and what you're doing right now will pay off for you and everyone else later. Okay, enough of that. So don't forget, schedule your time. Make sure you're always auditioning. You're always having time for your work, so you're having both, and you're hyper-focusing your attention on 1 to 2 things. Always make sure that you're educating yourself, okay? And, you know, be easy on yourself. It's going to be okay. I mean, don't be too hard on yourself, because something else is going to have to give. All right, I hope this video helped. I hope it doesn't. Hope it makes you feel, you know, a little bit less angry with yourself. Understand, yes, I'm doing what I am. I am on the right course. These are the things I need to do. You know what I mean? I need to hyper focus, and it's okay that I'm focusing my efforts, because down the road it's going to pay off. It will. Don't ever forget, you have to give before you receive. It's the biggest thing, and it's silly. I don't know why it's silly for us, or why it seems so weird, but it's so true. We have to give first, and we will receive later. It's the whole point. You've got to do things first. You got to give all that time and effort first, and you will receive it back tenfold later. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. As always, have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.